Announcing the commencement of the first purge.
I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags, and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
Good morning, all. It's October 17th, 2018. I'm Eric. Here at Zero Hedge, UN Climate Change Report. A choice between Mad Max and Hunger Games. Excuse me. This comes from Jonathan Whitmore via the Foundation for Economic Education. Humanity, we're essentially told, is doomed lest people concede their freedom to the experts, lawmakers, and bureaucrats who can save us. Aw, isn't that nice? They want to save us. So, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change this week released a special report detailing all the ways climate change is predicted to wreak havoc on humans. The report is about 800 pages long, so they are offering a summary for us. Global temperatures today are 1 degree Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures. Okay, well, here's the thing. We've paved over a lot of the planet. And of course, if you do so, it's going to get hotter. It's going to get hotter because there's no plant life to absorb a lot of that heat. So, okay, we're seeing an increase in extreme weather and other negative consequences as a result of the increase, including receding sea ice in the Arctic and rising global sea levels. That's a fucking blatant lie, but even if it is true, even if it's true, I just got through reading The Lost Book of Enki, and according to that text, this cycle occurs every so many thousand years, and massive amounts of people fucking die. So, it's not the CO2 or any of that shit. It's a planet coming into our inner solar system that creates the climate change. It creates the increase in volcanic activity and seismic activity. It's all there. It's all there in the book. And this was translated from 4,000 to 6,000 year old Sumerian tablets. So, I think I believe them more than I believe these fucking people with an agenda. You know, the agenda to kill off half of the world, if not more. A 1.5 degrees Celsius increase will be much worse than a 1 degree increase. 2 degree, much worse than that. We're currently on track to exceed 3 degrees Celsius. And of course, they are lying. Only broad and drastic changes in our world economy can prevent global calamity. Now, what they want is for the people of the world to live like those in Africa. No air conditioner, no cars, and very, very little energy. Heating. We won't be allowed to, have campfires and this kind of stuff, according to these assholes. The report's glum findings were announced at a press conference by a United Nations panel in Incheon, South Korea. Panelists tried to sound optimistic, but there was no sugarcoating the report's key finding. Quote, if you would like to stabilize global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the key message is that the net CO2 emissions at the global scale must reach zero by 2050. And of course, we heard Bill Gates talk about this. How can we reach a net CO2 emission of 0 with human beings on the planet? And this is according to panelist Valerie Mason Del Monte, a French climate scientist and research director at the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission. That's the most important finding of the report, according to her. Barring these substantial reductions, we're told millions will die, literally. It's not going to be millions. There's, between 7 and 9 billion people on the planet. It's going to be much worse than millions. The report made it clear that fossil fuel, oil, gas, and coal, which the world heavily depends on, must be phased out to achieve this goal, especially coal. Coal, in quotes, coal will have to be reduced very, very substantially by the middle of the century, said Jim Skia, a Scottish academic and IPCC panelist. Coal has the highest carbon content of all the fossil fuels. Barring these substantial reductions, we're told millions will die, literally. One hates to describe the UN's latest effort as a scare report, but consider the reactions as precipitated. One New York Times climate reporter put it this way, in quotes, I am listening to the UN's climate change panel, and they basically saying it would take a Herculean effort to stop us from hitting 1.5 degrees Celsius. Based on their description, the difference between 1.5 Celsius and 2 Celsius is basically the difference between the Hunger Games and Mad Max. Now, I would rather live in a Mad Max kind of world myself, because as you saw in the Hunger Games, it was a authoritarian kind of society. Mad Max, you kind of did whatever the fuck you wanted, and yeah, I'd much rather deal with the Mad Max than these authoritarian people who will cage you, who will kill you, who will torture you. This is the kind of people these individuals are. They want you dead. A college professor who worked on the project said it brought her to tears. Boo-hoo. I'm overwhelmed by the challenge we face, University of Arizona professor Diana Liver told Grist, or whatever. I had a good cry on the plane home from exhaustion and thinking about implications of the report. Do you see the fucking absurdity? The bitch was on a fucking plane that spews all this shit into the atmosphere while at the same time crying about it. Do you believe these fucking people? I don't. I cite these examples not to mock people who appear genuinely concerned about climate change, but to demonstrate a point. These findings are supposed to scare us. And of course, the sheeple of the world out there, they will be scared like little fucking cowards, and they will acquiesce to the whims of these fucking control freaks. The use of fear. Fear, of course, is perhaps the greatest motivator in the world. And in this case, fear is entirely rational if one accepts the premise that the world will face a climate apocalypse if net CO2 emissions are not brought to zero. And that really does mean you get to live, or the people remaining get to live in squalor. That's what it means. And that's what the agenda is. We get to live in squalor while these motherfuckers cruise around the planet in their giant yachts on their private planes, while the rest of us are forced to go without. Go without cars, go without air conditioner, go without heating, go without. That is the agenda. And of course you have another agenda called Codex Alimentarius, I think that's how it's pronounced, where they regulate all vitamins, minerals, and you must have a prescription to even get vitamin C. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and repeat this. Fear, of course, is perhaps the greatest motivator in the world, and in this case, fear is entirely rational if one accepts the premise that the world will face a climate apocalypse if net CO2 emissions are not brought to zero, because that's almost certainly not going to happen, and it's not. It's not going to happen. Fortunately, scientists generally, and environmentalists specifically, have a rather poor track record when it comes to dire predictions. Yet, government's ability to use perceived threats to expand power is more impressive and more dangerous. Panelists made it clear that state action was the primary, if not sole, mechanism to address the looming catastrophe. And unsurprisingly, some are already citing the report's conclusions as evidence that the governments of the world must drastically ramp up regulation of the free market to save us. See, this isn't about saving the planet. It's about controlling the human. It's about having you under their thumb. Whoever gets to survive. That's what it's about. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to kill shitloads of people. The world's top scientists just gave rigorous backing to systematically dismantling capitalism as a key requirement to maintaining civilization and a habitable planet. Oh. The means and not the end. This has long been my problem with science of climate change. It has always felt a bit like a means to an end. A burning problem so vast, requiring such sweeping collective action that nothing but the broadest central planning could address it. Humanity, we're essentially told, is doomed unless we concede our freedom to the so-called experts and lawmakers and the fucking scumbag bureaucrats. All of these people are fucking scum because they are liars. Because they want you dead. I'm not sugarcoating anything. Now, in my previous video that I uploaded today, I told you, the viewer, you cannot fight sociopaths and psychopaths with love and peace. They want you dead. Period. The only way to save the people of this world is to start massively rebelling against this agenda. And I mean putting our bodies into it. Putting ourselves at risk. Without risk, there is no glory. One of the principal lessons of our tragic century, which has been seen so many millions of innocent lives sacrificed in schemes to improve the lot of humanity, is beware of intellectuals. Not merely should they be kept away from the levers of power, they should also be objects of particular suspicion when they seek to offer collective advice. And if the solution to climate change requires seceding individuals or individual and corporate autonomy to the state, well, that's no solution at all. That's a road to serfdom. And unlike Mad Max and the Hunger Games, history shows there's nothing fictional about it. So, one thing I would like to see is the UN completely dismantled. I would like to see the people there hung. I would like to see these politicians pay dearly for all the shit they've done to us over the years. And maybe, just maybe, with enough people outraged over their fucking blatant lying, over their blatant power grabs, over their blatant wealth transfers, I will get my wish. Hope everyone has a good day. Kill the state before the state kills you.